Hello, YouTube. There was a movie I saw on Tubi last night, and I was like, damn, I need to talk about it. And then I was like, I wasn't going to talk about it because I feel like it's a little cliche, but somebody needs encouragement. I seen a video right before I brushed my teeth and washed my face and whatever this morning. And I was like, this is a good topic. And I feel like I've done it before, but I'm gonna do it again because it's such like I wish the advice that I'm giving on this here YouTube, I wish somebody would have told me, and I'm always giving advice and stuff, and some people give me advice, but I a lot of things I had to learn on my own, you know. And that's the downside of being an only child. Like you don't really have people to really talk to you, and then even if you have parents, the parents, they don't always have wisdom to impart in you. That's like, you would hope so, but they haven't really gone through what you've gone through, so they could advise you but so much. But in my 36 years of life, I have a few things that I've gone through, so like when it comes to friendships and people coming and going in your life, my mother could never give me that advice because she never had friends. Like she's a person who she doesn't have friends and she doesn't want friends. And then for my father, I don't think he's had he has friends, but they're long-term friendships, like 40, 50 years, whatever. He has a couple of people he doesn't talk to anymore, but for the most part, he still has the same friends from 50 and 60 years ago. Me, I haven't been that lucky, and so what I'm learning is that God will remove people from your life, and sometimes it's a blessing, whether if it's family or friends. So I just wanted to do a couple of things. Four signs that a person is not supposed to be in your life, and this goes for family, friends, significant other, anything. I'm gonna give a couple examples, and hopefully you'll be blessed today. Um, First of all, the movie is called Brooklyn on Tubi, and she went through a lot of things. She was raped when she was 18. 18 years later, she gets into a toxic relationship where this man talked her into escorting. And so as a result, she catches HIV. They don't really say who it's from, but I'm guessing one of the Johns. And or him, he actually cheated on her with her sister. She forgave him, took him back, and then he cheated on her with a trans. And so I wanted to use that as an example for God was been trying to break up that relationship. And I don't know if I said this, but I've heard this before. When God is trying to break up your relationship with someone, specifically significant others, he will purposely make them hurt you on different levels. Like either you'll have constant drama, constant arguing, you won't get along with the person. Even if the person could be Christian, you know, God is not the God of confusion, right? So if you find yourself constantly bickering and arguing with somebody, y'all don't get along, you find yourself not trusting the person for whatever reason, that is not your soulmate and God did not send them. So when he cheated on her with her sister, it's more than just betrayal. God was trying to remove him from her life, right? You have to look at the red flags and you have to look at the warnings, right? As far as family and friends, a sign could be something as simple as now the eight. I seen a video on YouTube that said 8 signs, but for me, it's the big four. Another big one is my first one is confusion. The second one is they don't reciprocate favors. Um, they don't reciprocate. Like you do all the calling and texting, they'll return your call type stuff, right? And I dare you to test it out. I dare you to not call and text them for a month, right? If they do not respond, that was never your friend. That was never someone who cared about you. Someone who cares about you and they know that you're always reaching out, they're going to reach out like, hey, I've been thinking about you, whatever. Like I told y'all with the former friend that I had, I always would text and call her. And yes, we would hang out and she did support me and I supported her. But when it came to the texting and the calling, that was a sign from God that she needs to be removed from my life. So I was not going to go into my 30s in a one-sided friendship. And another sign of 3 is that everybody would tell you that this person, and it's funny because she had a dream that my father was telling me to stay away from her. I was like, first of all, my father don't even know you, and that would never be his decision. But it's just funny how she says she had that dream. I didn't have any dreams about her, but I had a feeling. So one of the signs on YouTube said when you have a gut wrenching feeling, and I always had a gut wrenching feeling that our friendship wouldn't last. Like sometimes you could just tell, you just know. And I think I said it on a previous video. That particular friendship was a trauma bond. We had a mutual friend. I went to high school with him, and he said some nice, not so nice things about her. And so that's what connected us. And we both were going through things with men. And I had made mention of it in one of our conversations, like, all we do is talk about men. She's like, oh, we talk about other things. But 90%, and I wanted to point that out, if 90% of your phone calls are about men and the mishaps you have with men, that is not a friendship. That is a trauma bond. Yeah, sure, y'all might have fun. Y'all might have everything in common. Her and I had everything in common. Like, she was educated, I was educated. She was into the history, I love history. She liked the boring stuff, I liked the boring stuff. She liked to party, I love to party. She didn't drink and smoke at all. Like, this girl wouldn't even have champagne. Me, I'll take a glass here and there, but you know, she was sober-minded. She was classy. She was very classy, I could say that. I didn't have to worry about her, how she acted in public. She had manners. Like, the list went on with positive things about her, but she was not a true friend. And that was God telling me, like, she don't need to. A person could be a good person and not good for you. Just like you could have a man that he could be a good man, but that doesn't mean that that's who God wants you with, right? Sometimes, you have this man and he could be a good guy, but he lies and God is telling you to rid him. Then you get rid of him, and next thing you know, he's married to somebody else. Don't feel bad because yours is coming. And that's what I have to constantly tell myself. Like, my Boaz is coming. I broke up with my military ex, and I had it in my mind like, oh, I was telling somebody like, oh, I think I made a mistake. Let me hit him up. And so I look him up and I hit him up. And he got married 13 months after I broke up with him. So obviously that meant I was right about him, because ain't no way. Like 13 months, you didn't get a girlfriend. You got a wife, which means you was seeing her while you was with me. Is no way. So the little things, I broke up with him. Like, I broke up with him because he lied about stupid shit. He had a body odor. That was God trying to remove him from my life, right? Or the ex after him, there was always confusion and chaos. God would never put that in your life. He was handsome. We got along. My military ex, but there was little things that was a turnoff. And then, like, with the ex after him, my recent ex, we didn't really get along. Like, we got along, but we would argue about things like black civil rights. There was just a lot of things that he would say that would tick me off, like about Central Park 5. And he's like, I'm entitled to my opinion. That's how I feel. Back in the days, everybody said they was guilty. I'm like, no, you thought they was guilty. Like, even though the evidence is out now, it just shows what you think and how you process information. I'm like, what? And just other little things he would say, and we would get into an argument because Two cannot walk unless they agree, and it's that simple, like, But another reason that somebody is not for you, or God is trying to take you out their life, is if they say blasphemous things. Like, I have a family member who, she actually invited me to church. I didn't really like her church, and she does not. It's weird with her because she believes in God, but she doesn't believe in Jesus. And so she says something to the effect of, not even to the effect, she just came out and said, Jesus is gay. She believes that Jesus did everything that we did, and he has all the sins that we have. And I said, well, then how would he be Jesus? Be careful with people who say stuff like that, because 9 times out of 10 they curse, and you can see how their life turn out. Like, I'm not gonna put her on blast fully, but her life is not that great. Her life is really not. She's not happy. She admitted that she's miserable, and she said it once, and I let it slide. But if a person keeps saying that, you need to stay far away from them, because they could actually cause you to be cursed. When they start talking like that, like, oh, Jesus. No. And I noticed with some gay people, they're like that. They're gay, so everybody is gay. It's a very demonic way of thinking. It's like, just because you're this way, that doesn't mean everybody has to be that way. That doesn't make sense. The people get down like that. That doesn't mean that everybody gets down like that. So basically I would say they have a wayward spirit, or they say blasphemous things. That God doesn't want you to be in cahoots with that person. God is trying to tell you to stay away from the person. Another sign, is this number 4? Another sign is they don't listen to you while you talk on the phone. And I think I spoke about this. I actually told my ex this. I was like, if you want to piss me off and like not be in my life, ignore me. That's the best. That's one of my pet peeves. I hate being ignored. That's like the worst thing you could do to me. You could do a lot of things to me, but when a person ignores me, that really ticks me off to the point that I may not want to even talk to you no more. So, and then for me, I give people chances, right? So what do I mean by ignore? I don't mean like I'm calling you and you're not answering, but I'm talking about we could be on the phone, and so everybody who walked past, instead of you saying, hold on to me, you're having a full conversation with somebody in the back. That's somebody that doesn't want to talk to you, right? So now some people might say, oh, what if the person's at work? Then you shouldn't pick up the phone. You should be like, okay, I'm on my break and there's people coming in the room. I'm going to have to talk to you another time. You don't sit there and have a whole conversation with your coworker and you have somebody on the phone with you. I think that's very wrong, and that really pisses me off, I've never done that to anybody. I will always say, hold on, or I have to talk to you at another time. You're supposed to give that person your undivided attention. And if it's hard for you to do that, then that person's not important to you. It's that simple. Like, I don't think life is difficult. I think people make it difficult, right? So, or the person could be home, but they're just not paying attention to what you're saying. They're either, drunk, or whatever's going on with them. They're just not fully engaged. I think that's another sign that God is trying to remove you from your life, because they're not engaged in what you're saying. I've made the mistake of venting out. Like, me and my dad can have an argument, and this individual would be like, oh, you need to stop talking to him. That is the devil himself, okay? God will never tell you to cut off your support system, somebody that's there for you, somebody that's actually loves you, right? A person who has sense or sent from God, they will tell you to work it out. They will say, we'll talk to that person. They're not just going to come out and say, oh, cut that person off. Now, if the person is a man that keeps hurting you, then yes, you need to cut him off. But not when it's like somebody who raised you, somebody that's helping you raise your children, and then this other family member is saying to cut that person off because they never had a father. Watch out for that, So I know I got a little deep, but these are all the signs that that person doesn't need to be in your life. Number 5, the person is a bully. I had a family member on my mother's side that she threatened to beat me up. And I don't know if she was serious or not, but I told her, if you come anywhere near my apartment, I will call the police, and whatever happens to you is none of my business. I told her straight like that. And so, bottom line, she was angry that I didn't want to come to her church, but she invited me last minute. And it's like, I'm telling you, I have plans with her cousin, my uncle, wife. We was going to a function, and the thing about it is I had paid for the ticket. So I wasn't gonna not go to the event to go to her church. No. And then how am I gonna get there? This place, Alan A and me, you have to have a ride to go there, Unless if I went there for a concert and I went after work. So the buses and trains and stuff is not that bad, but on a Sunday morning, I would never go to that church on a Sunday morning. Like, nothing's running. Like, how am I going to get there? The J train doesn't run on the weekends. I've already been there, done that. Like, it's a headache just to get to Queens on a weekend. Like, no. If I don't have a ride, I ain't going. So she was the type of person, she'll give you a ride, but obviously she wasn't going to give me a ride that early, right? She wasn't. So she probably would have gave me a ride home, but I would have been on my own to get a ride to there, And during that time, I don't think I was using Uber, or I don't think I really wanted to use Uber. But regardless of the fact, I had a previous engagement. I had plans with my aunt-in-law, and I told her this, and I think she got angry, and so she was like, oh, I'm gonna cut you off, I'm gonna block you, this, that, and the third. Trust me when I say I was happy she said that. I was like, I couldn't agree more. That is God blocking you from that person. That person is toxic. Anybody who and my uncle was like, oh, I told you she crazy. He did warn me. Like, the funny thing is, he was just giving me a bunch of numbers of people, and in my spirit I felt skeptical. I was like, no, I just came to reach out to you. You're my mother's brother. My parents were going through something at the time, and I reached out to my uncle because, I needed a support system. And so this was 2018. And so he had gave me some numbers of other family members, but, I wasn't really, I was like meeting different people, and it was cool at first, but then I realized my mom had a good reason for cutting them off, and I was never raised around them for a good reason, So, yeah, anybody who belittles you, puts you down, God is never going to have that in your life. And they could be family members. But anybody who doesn't support you, who doesn't, your son or your daughter's having an event and they don't come, and they don't have a reason, they don't have an engagement, whatever, that's God trying to remove them out of your life, And at first it could be hurtful because you like, ooh, I didn't do nothing to this family member. Why are they rejecting me? God's rejection is God's confirmation. That's all it is. And so at 36, I don't give a damn. Like, like in my 20s, I didn't give a damn. And when you get to your 30s, it's like, yo. And then I told you about another former friend. He has issues. Like, I didn't realize it until the morning that I got the text. It was the morning after Halloween, because I remember when we had the debate. It wasn't really an argument. It was just, we were just talking. That's what made it so weird. But it was Halloween night, 2022. And The next morning, he sends me an essay saying, do not text me, do not call me, don't send anything to my house. And I'm like, where's this coming from? Like, you're cutting me off because I said PB and Rock, he died because of fate. I said you should tell people about this conversation and ask them their opinion because you make no sense. I'm entitled to my opinion, okay? So he's like, "Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you." Da 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 da. I'm like, even if you were, why are you dismissing me as a friend because of my, like, it doesn't even make sense. I said, but if that makes you feel better, I wish you well. Like, you want to leave, I'm going to open the door. I'm not going to sit there and beg somebody to be in my life. That's what I'm not going to do. So if that's what makes you feel good, then, and that wasn't his first time cutting me off, but that was his first time messaging me that he was going to cut me off. So I guess he expected me to plead and beg with him. I was like, please, because I'm tired of going through this. Every year or every 2 years, you cut me off, and then I come behind you, and then we get cool again, and then I have to watch what I say, otherwise you're going to cut me off. Like, I'm not even saying nothing crazy to you. I'm not cursing you out. I'm not doing anything. And then I really sat and thought about everything, and I'm like, no, he's in the wrong. He's the one that's weird. Like, that's not a normal response. And then on top of that, you atheist. Like, I have every right to cut you off, not the other way around. I never like invited him to church, or because I know how he felt about church. So I'm not the type of person to force religion on someone. Never that. But he was the type to try to force his beliefs on me. So anybody who knows me, they might think I'm stubborn. No, I'm not stubborn. I'm entitled to my beliefs, and I'm not gonna let you sit there and brainwash me because God has been too good to me. So on that note, but yeah, those are the signs that God doesn't want you in somebody's life or vice versa. And it's good to listen to your gut feeling, your spirit man. And if there's constant chaos with that person, if you feel drained when you're around that person, they do things that's embarrassing, they're flirting with you, and boundaries. That's another thing I wanted to say. The devil in them will try to recruit you. You got a lot of people that's confused with their sexuality because some family member try to turn them out, and that's just the devil or the enemy, because it's like a lot of women get to the place of loneliness and they don't even like women. They just start, it's a spirit that gets into them because it's the spirit of division. That's what it is. Hate your father, hate men, be with women. That's literally a spirit. Now, some women, yes, they do fall in love and it's natural. But for the most part, it's the spirit of an antichrist. It's an antichrist spirit in the church. And you have to be careful with that. Everybody who goes to church is not a friend of God. Okay? So when people say, oh, why you don't go to church? Because it's a bunch of sick people. Literally, spiritually and physically. Like, it's a bunch of sick people, and I don't want to get sick. So I visit. I don't have a problem visiting, but it better not be boring. Your church better be on YouTube. Like, I have standards with just like with going to a restaurant. Are you just going to go to any restaurant? No, because you could get sick. And I think church should be the same way. You should never overindulge or do it. Too much of anything is no good. And you should be picky in which church you go to, because some churches are very toxic, and you have people that's in a church 10, 20, 30 years and they never grow spiritually because they're getting the contaminated food, right? And I look for the word of God. A lot of people have what I call McDonald ministries, fast food ministry. And no, you got to be seasoned. You better know what you're talking about. There better be growth. Like with my son's teacher church, The Winners Assembly, shout out to them on Gates Avenue. If you're looking for a church home, Vincent Bohannon is a great pastor. They have a good choir, and he's in school right now for theology. So that's what's important as well too. And I spoke about that. Like, you gotta know what you're talking about when you're around me. You can't talk ignorant. When I was younger, I was very debatable with stuff. Now I just let people talk. But it's but so much ignorance I'm going to tolerate from a pastor, right? You got a lot of pastors out here that's talking and they ain't saying nothing. They uneducated. They brag about being uneducated. No, if you need to go to school, period. This is 2025. There is no reason why you as a pastor should have no high school diploma, never been to theology school. That tells me that you really don't believe in what you're teaching. Because why don't you go to school? Why don't you go to Bible school, right? And I wanted to tell people the same way, would you go to a doctor that don't have their credentials, right? Would you? No, right? You want to make sure that that person got a medical degree, their bachelor's, all of that, right? Or even with teachers, would you send your child to a school where the teachers don't have their stuff? Like the high school I went to, I was telling my parents, I guess they ain't believe me, but those teachers, a lot of them did not have their degree. A whole lot of them. It was only a couple of them that had their stuff, and they was very open and honest with that. Private school, that's the downside. A lot of them are not certified. They do not have a teaching license, and they don't have no bachelor's. They doing a favor for their auntie. The principal is their auntie, and so they doing a favor for them because she can't afford to pay nobody. You don't want to send your child to a school like that. You know, you want to make sure those teachers are certified and educated. So why don't we treat church the same way? There's no reason why somebody should be teaching you the word of God and they haven't gone to school for it. I'm sorry. And so the Winners Assembly, not only is he anointed, but he's also educated. And that's very important. That's very important because it's too many people I know that go to church and they don't know the word of God because they haven't been taught properly. I went to school. I learned everything about the Bible. I learned from educated ministers that went to theology school, that know something, right? And that's important. They studied the word. They didn't just look up scripture the night before a Sunday. Like, you can tell the difference between this person actually sat down and studied the word versus they just looked up a couple of scriptures on a Saturday night before Sunday morning. You could really tell. And Vincent Bohannon is polished. He has grown. The first time I went to his church was this time 2 years ago, and he has grown. He's matured. He is educated. He's in school for what he's talking about. And that's what you need in your life. An educated, anointed man of God. Not these people that don't know what they talking about. And I just be looking like, what? Like, you need somebody seasoned that's studying. And yes, he is young. He's 30, but at least he knows what he's talking about. And that's important. That's important. But that's what I wanted to talk about this morning. Have a blessed Sunday morning. Also, the movie Brooklyn on Tubi is so good. It has a very happy ending. She was an escort. She caught HIV, but a man entered her life. Was trying to holler at her. She finally gave him a chance, and he was a good guy. She ended up getting kidnapped by one of her Johns, but he came to rescue her. She ended up opening a business that she always wanted to. She stopped escorting permanently. She got with a man that didn't judge her, and he married her in spite of everything. And it's so beautiful because so many times men, they do the most and women forgive them and still get with them. And with some women, they get judged harshly. But it's good to know that regardless of whatever, the same way God forgives, the man that God has for you, and this is what I wanted to tell my ladies, the man that God has for you, is not going to judge you of your past. Okay? Now, if you continually in your past, then that's different, But the man that God has for you is not going to judge you, right? I think I told y'all I met some guy at BAM last year, and he was very judgmental, and I said, I snapped right back at him. I said, you got two siblings, which means, and I said, how many baby fathers your mom got? And you worried about me having one? I have one baby daddy and one child, and you're judging me. I said, I can't go back into time. My son is 16. Why are you worried about something I did when I was 19 years old? Like, just the way he was talking to me was just so judgmental. But I wasn't attracted to him anyway. But that's just an example of God will never send you somebody that's going to judge you. Like, because I can't help what happened when I was 19. I was 19. I was young. I was naive. I made a mistake. And I don't regret it because my son is an amazing kid. Good grades, well mannered. Everybody compliments him like he's an amazing kid. And no, I don't regret it. It was a lesson learned. And yes, I'm keeping myself till marriage as far as having more kids. And you got people in the church that they have 3 and 4 kids and they don't even care. So people like that I stay away from because that's what you call an apostate state. It's one thing to have sex, we're all human, but to keep popping out babies, it shows that you don't have a conscience. Because just like conversation is coming up November 4th. No, November 8th. They coming to Jacob Javits Center. All the people, Stevon Speaks, and all the people that talk on social media, they coming, by the way, just to let y'all know. So one thing she said that's true, she was like, if you are a child of God, something inside of you is going to convict you of your sin. You might sin, but you're going to feel bad about it. Whether if it's having sex, being with somebody that has a girlfriend, married man, having babies out of wedlock, like the things you do, you're going to feel bad about. And if you don't feel bad about it, then you're not a child of God. That's just like if you're a child that's stealing from your parent, right? Something about it is going to convict you. You're going to feel bad about it. But for the people that's in the church and you having outside babies out of wedlock, and when I say out of wedlock, not just someone you're not married to, but some people are having kids and they're not even in a relationship. They're in a situationship and they know it, and you just keep having kids. You're a minister with a white collar. I have another cousin that she just had her 3rd baby. She's not even with the guy anymore. It's like, what is wrong with you? Why is it that you can't use protection? Why is it that how are you a minister and you having all these babies out of wedlock? And so people look down at me because I don't go every Sunday. At least I know how to use protection. And I'm not sleeping with everybody. And I have some sense of conviction and morals. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all make mistakes, but my gosh, just like that lady said, it was a little judgmental, but she was right. If you had any God in your life, you would not be coming to this mic talking about you with a married man. You would feel ashamed. You would keep that to yourself. Like, you would be trying to get out of the situation. You wouldn't be so boastful and proudful and then got a nerve to talk about God. Or some people that's bisexual and they just so proud about it. Like, no, there's no way that you're a child of God and you're proud of your sin. You should be ashamed. You should just, keep it to yourself. Like, what the fuck? Like, got me cussing on Sunday. But yeah, it's true. One thing I love about the movie Brooklyn on Tubi is that she gave her life to Christ. Her friend had put her on, and her friend wasn't perfect. That's what I loved about the movie. Like, the friend was still a regular person, but she put her on to God. Like, you gotta trust God, give him your life. And as soon as she gave him her life changed for the better. She got a better man. She stopped escorting. She opened up a business. Like, God will open doors left and right for you. And She was like, well, where was God when I was getting raped? Where was God? Which is true. And people have said this to me, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But God will, just like the therapist, and that was a good therapist. Therapist was telling her, God would never leave you nor forsake you. If you just let him into your life, you'll see that he will change you. You know, he's all the friend you need. And it's true. She gave her life to Christ and her life changed for the better. And she found a man that loved her past her flaws. He didn't look at her and say, well, because you did this, this, and that in your past, I'ma judge you and da da da. And it could be the littlest thing that a man that's not for you would judge you for. You know, if he's not for you, he gonna judge the shit out of you. And it's that simple. But pay attention to the signs. Somebody's not for you. Like I said, family member, parent, significant other, whatever. Also, one thing they said, when the person's not in your life, you feel very peaceful. I can't tell you how that feels. It's such a calming thing. Like when that person's not in your life, you just feel at peace. You know, like after a breakup or someone that's toxic in your life, it's just you that woosah feeling. You know. So those are the signs of people that don't need to be in your life. Check out Brooklyn. It's a hood movie, but it's I like the ending is like really good. You know, and I like the part of her giving her life to Christ, and that was dope. And the actress that's in it is Sarita O. So she's mixed, she's Asian and black, and she did the series Us, which is about a polynomial relationship, hot mess. She ends up getting pregnant. That's too much. Then she was in the movie You Remind Me with Kamal Smith. She's a really good actress, you know, but she does, I guess, what they call B movies, but we all got to start somewhere, right? But yeah, those are my thoughts. Happy Sunday.